Hey, what's going on, everyone? Misha Wilson here, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about why hitting goals actually sucks and what you should focus on more if you want to have a happier life, ultimately enjoy your day-to-day life much more and understand truly where fulfillment and where happiness and where that feeling of being invigorated to live your life every single day actually comes from. As always, if you get value out of this video, don't forget to let me know in the comment section below what your biggest takeaway is. Hit that subscribe button and that bell icon notification button so that you get more videos just like this. With that said, let's go ahead and dive right in. Welcome to the Misha Wilson Show, where we show you how to create massive success online so you can enjoy the lifestyle of your wildest dreams. All right, so again, somewhat controversial what I'm talking about here today, but the idea that hitting a goal oftentimes actually sucks and why I've actually personally come to a point where I completely and totally accept that to be reality. All right, so what I've noticed over and over and over again in my life is that I have set goals. I've set goals when it comes to the amount of sales I want to make. I've set goals when it comes to the amount of, or the kind of car I want to have. I usually keep it a one car, but I want to have a really nice car, right? I've set goals to, the type of house that I want to buy. I've set goals around the, amount of revenue that I want to generate. I've always set these big goals, these big lofty goals. And I've consistently, been fortunate enough to chase them down in my journey, right? I've experienced hitting the goal of doing $1 million in a month, doing more than that in a month, $30 million in sales. The first goal that I had was doing 10 million in sales. I hit that a long time ago. Bought my dream car, recently bought my dream house cash, right? I've gone through the process enough at this point to understand and realize that the truth of the matter is that oftentimes hitting the goal itself is one of the most anticlimactic, unfulfilling, and ultimately something that, an event that oftentimes brings more pain than actual pleasure. And they've actually done studies on the brain when it comes to, dopamine, how dopamine works, how the pain and the pleasure dynamic works within the overall brain. And the truth is that when you hit a point where you hit a goal, usually you immediately associate that with pleasure, and your brain cannot have pleasure without pain, right? Whenever you have pleasure, you will always have, this is the big breakthrough they've found out, you will always have just a little bit more pain than the pleasure that you just had. And that's why people get themselves in states where they're constantly seeking more and more and more pleasure all the time, only to be, once again, right when they're done with that pleasure, in a state of heightened pain, only to go after more and more pleasure just to get more and more pain, and so on and so forth. And I've actually found my own personal journey that when I hit a certain goal, when I hit a certain destination, let's call it, that I've set as the goal, that I've, attached a state of pleasure around, right? When I hit this thing, I will be happy. Not that I say that, of course, right? I'm smart enough not to say that out loud or think that out loud even, but always, there's a subconscious, when you set a goal and you hit it, you think you're going to feel a certain way. The truth of the matter is it never ends up happening that way. And it's the same thing when you see super successful entrepreneurs sell their company and then go into deep depressions, right? Super successful entrepreneurs who exit their company and then have to be out of the game for a few years, be in massive states of depression because they get to that point where it's the ultimate pinnacle, where they've hit that big goal. They have the hundreds of millions of dollars cash liquid, but they're not able to do the thing that they actually love doing, which got them to the place that they ended up getting. And that is part of it, right? And that's the first part of it that I want to talk about. Understanding that if you can associate the process, the actions that you take on a daily basis in order to get to that end result that you're looking to get to, if you can associate the pleasure with the actual process, you will be 10 times more happy. And I find in my own personal life, that is actually when I am the most happy. All right. So if you were to ask me, Misha, what does your perfect day look like? If you just, you go to sleep at night, you say, fuck, that was an amazing day. For myself personally, right, I will have worked pretty much all day really hard. I'll have done something physical, worked out really hard. I'll spend some time with my loved ones and essentially being in it, feeling like I'm in it like that, working really hard, being really productive, having a lot of output when it comes to the business. And then also, when it comes to the physical stuff and being around my loved ones, etc., that's what makes me feel really good every single day. And so it's strange that we don't set the goal of that's what I want to do every single day. That's literally the goal in of itself. And that's kind of what I've had to adjust in my own personal life. Yes, of course, you can't necessarily run a business and, keep making progress and keep growing, because if you're not growing, you're dying. You can't keep growing without setting actual goals for the business. But what I've had to realign myself with is my own internal goal is to execute on the process and get maximum satisfaction out of the process, understanding that that is where all of the dopamine is released. That's where all the good feelings come from. That's where ultimately the greatest level of satisfaction and fulfillment derive from. Because once you get to the place that you think, if I get to this place, I'll feel really good, oftentimes you feel very good for about 3 seconds. And then after you feel very good for about 3 seconds, you have a greater state of pain directly after that state of pleasure. All right. So that's the first thing to understand. Understand that once again, dopamine is actually released on the, anticipation of the goal, not the goal itself. And if you can anchor yourself to the actual, activity, I'm going to gain pleasure from executing upon the activity, and understand that that is the thing that gives you the most satisfaction long term, you are 10 times better off, right? You're going to enjoy the process. You're not only going to enjoy the process, you're going to get where you're wanting to go. But then when you go there, you'll be fine with it. You'll feel fine because you can continue on the process, which is the thing that actually brings you the most satisfaction. All right. So firstly, understand that principle and anchor yourself to the overall process. Understand the pain and the pleasure dynamic. Whenever there's pleasure, there's going to be a little bit equal and opposite, more pain than there was actual pleasure. And then secondly, like I just talked about, understand how dopamine works in the brain, and understand that dopamine is not actually attached to an end outcome. All right. Dopamine is attached to the anticipation of an end outcome coming. All right. So as an example, let's say you're trying to hit a goal and you're getting really close to the goal, right? Let's say you have a goal of doing $1 million a month in your business, which was a goal of mine for a long time before we do it very regularly now. It's going to feel, you're going to get more dopamine hits when you're at $900,000 a month, $950,000 a month, $975,000 a month, $800,000 a month. You're going to get more hits off of that than you'll actually get when you're at that actual goal. And the same holds true when it comes to actual money in the bank account. All right. I remember way back when I did not have my first million yet, and I was always striving for my first million, right? I remember I got to 700,000, I got to 800,000 liquid, I got to 850,000, I got to 900,000. And it was just this great feeling of I was almost there. I had almost hit my goal. And then I remember when I had, 7 figures in my bank account, 7-figure liquid, I remember just kind of being like, all right, well, I guess now I got to get to 10 million. And then, get to 10 million, then I got to do 100 million. Like, you don't feel any different than you think you're going to feel. You don't feel any different than you did before. You actually feel a little bit worse because you've then attained it. And that feeling of dopamine that you had, the anticipation, the rush, being in the chase, being in the hunt, right? We are originally hunters and gatherers. Being in that hunt is then gone, and you have to find the next thing to go for. And so what I've personally found is, yes, look, if you're going to run a company, if you're going to be a leader of a company, if you're going to be a CEO, if you're going to be someone who has their own business, you got to set targets, you got to set goals, you got to set daily targets, you got to set, hourly targets, you got to set sales targets, you got to chunk them down, you got to do all of those things in your business. You got to have your critical drivers, your KPIs, you got to have it all. I got to do this video because I have a goal to get this channel to a certain point. But if you can anchor yourself to understanding that doing the actual video is the thing that you enjoy most, not getting to 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, 1 million YouTube subscribers. If you can anchor yourself to writing the actual email that will impact the other person's life on the other end of it, is much more satisfaction, oriented than building a huge email list of 1 million people, that you ultimately have no relationship with and no, connection with, etc., just understand that, hitting goals is awesome. It's fun. It's part of the overall process. But oftentimes when you hit it, when you actually get there, you are left feeling much different than you thought you would before you actually got there. And essentially you're left in a place where you have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what the next thing is, instead of just embracing from the very beginning. The process is the goal. The process is the goal. The process is the thing that you get fulfillment out of. The process is the thing where that pleasure, is derived from. And if you can get to a point where the process is the goal itself, you will always be hitting your goals, but you will not be in that state of pain, pleasure, constantly trying to get more pleasure to get away from pain, and so on and so forth. So with that said, I know today's video kind of a little bit deeper, not tactic or strategy oriented. I hope you got some value out of this though. If you did, let me know in the comment section below what your biggest takeaway was from this video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon notification button. And until next time, over and out.